Subi paused before entering, his steps taking him to the cafeteria window. He knew the cameras were watching, but somehow the culprit had bypassed them. Peering inside, the cafeteria appeared eerily empty except for a student in uniform, lying face down on the table, motionless. Subei's sharp eye caught a pool of blood beneath him, a chilling sign that he wasn't asleep, he was dead. This was the new victim, possibly from Class F, just like he once was. He sighed, snapping a quick photo, then retreated to the restroom. In the privacy of a stall, he zoomed in on the image, searching for clues. Just like before, the new victim had likely left behind to trail something to help them uncover the killer's identity. After all, the twists in this story seemed too perfectly timed, as if someone else was writing the script. The photo clearly revealed the scattered cards around the victim, a signature move from someone wielding the power to summon cards. Subi, after confirming the arrangement mirrored that of a manga scene, swiftly deleted the photo and switched to his manga app. He then made his way outside, finding a quiet spot to observe. It was around 5 p.m., the time when students were heading out to dinner, and soon enough, he spotted the trio Jiang Tianming and his companions emerging from the dormitory. Subi shut his phone off, following them with purpose. Though he had been trained in the art of professional tracking, he didn't need to hide his actions this time. In fact, he hoped they'd notice. After all, in a manga like this, the characters were sharp and quick-witted. No room for fools. He expected them to overthink, and by the time they stumbled upon the crime scene, his subtle tracking would surely fuel their suspicions. That was the plan all along. That blonde boy from this morning is following us, Jiang Tianming murmured, glancing back casually. Wu Mingbai, intrigued, raised an eyebrow. The guy who called you unlucky? Jiang Tianming nodded. Yes, him. His name's Subi. Bing. Did you find anything? Lan Subing, her face concealed beneath a scarf, shook her head softly. Tomorrow. Understanding her reserved nature, Jiang Tianming and Wu Mingbai exchanged a knowing look. It would be tomorrow. No surprise, since less than a day had passed. Wu Mingbai suddenly broke into a mischievous grin. Seeing that smile, both Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing felt an unsettling twitch in their eyelids. That was Wu Mingbai's signature expression when he was planning something. And it never meant anything good. Before they could stop him, Wu Mingbai was already striding confidently towards Subi, his innocent brown eyes gleaming. Are you following us? That sharp little spark from Wu Mingbai sliced the air like a blade hidden in a handshake. Subi, unfazed, flashed a knowing smile on that said he'd already turned the next page of the script. Yes, he replied coolly, as if amusement itself whispered secrets in his ear. Wu Mingbai leaned in, childlike curiosity gleaming behind his calculating gaze. Why? Why? Subei's smirk widened, devilish charm mixing with chaos. Because interesting things always happen around unlucky people. The mood thickened like ink on a manga panel, just as Jiang Tianming strolled in, straightening imaginary glasses with mock authority. If you're watching a show, shouldn't you pay for a ticket? Subi blinked. We have to pay? That wasn't in the script. Or maybe. It just got rewritten. In the first chapters of the story, Jiang Tianming had always been cunning, but he kept it low-key, hidden behind a calm demeanor. However, something about him has shifted. Now, he's showing a more carefree side, one that is more playful, even reckless. Subi quickly realizes why. In the previous chapter, Jiang Tianming's life was weighed down by vengeance and dangerous stakes, forcing him to stay on edge. But now, he's in a school, surrounded by safety and the comfort of a calm orphanage. With a break between the two parts, his natural personality has returned. It's like watching a new version of Jiang Tianming, one that's lively and approachable. For Subi, this means it's easier to get close to him. A more relaxed Jiang Tianming opens doors. But there's a downside. The hard-earned knowledge and tactics from the first part no longer seem relevant. The plot is changing, and Subi can only sigh and adjust, realizing that what worked before might not anymore. The stakes are higher, but now they're playing by new rules. Even though this was supposed to be a free show for everyone, I guess I did sneak backstage ahead of time. Hearing this, the trio exchanged a knowing glance, and Lan Subing, lurking in the shadows, tugged on her friend's sleeves. Too shy to speak in front of outsiders, she resorted to typing on her phone. The screen flashed with 3 words, I have money. Before Subi could respond, Wu Mingbai, all innocence, tugged at Jiang Tianming's sleeve, asking, Miss Lan has money, so why not let him in for free? Jiang Tianming's eyes glinted with amusement as he feigned deep thought. What if we don't charge him? Anyone who bought into his act would be a fool. Subi knew all too well that the trio wasn't suggesting money as payment, it was something far more valuable. Clues. This fit perfectly with his own plan. However, even when their goals aligned, Su Bei wasn't about to let them take the lead. With a smirk, Su Bei exposed their little game. Stop pretending. It's getting a bit too fake. Ignoring their fake, innocent looks, he carried on. For the fun of it, I'll give you the future clues you'll need as your ticket. Wu Mingbai and Lan Subing exchanged looks of surprise. Future clues? Was he really talking about what they thought he was? Only Jiang Tianming remained calm, having already caught on to Su Bei's unusual abilities. Thank you. How will you give us these clues? Jiang Tianming asked. Just stand still. Su Bei spoke as he held up a gear, placing it above each of their heads. With every pass, their faces grew a little paler. Once done, he clasped his hands, slowly pulling them apart. A bronze gear, ornate with intricate designs, floated mysteriously in his hands. Ancient, majestic, and shrouded in secrets. But before the trio could even comprehend its power, the gear suddenly puffed out thick purple-red smoke and vanished into thin air. What just happened? Jiang Tianming asked, baffled. Next to him, Lan Subing displayed her phone, where she had typed, "Did it fail?" Coming from a wealthy family, her knowledge surpassed that of her companions, understanding that prophecies were difficult to perform, especially for beginners. Quite the opposite, Su Bei replied, shaking his head. I've already given you the clue. The three stared at him in disbelief, until Jiang Tianming hesitantly spoke. So, the purple-red smoke is the clue your ability provided? Su Bei nodded, confirming it. Realizing something deeper was at play, Jiang Tianming immediately pressed. Does this prophecy mean we'll encounter or need this purple-red smoke in the future? Su Bei couldn't help but think, of course not. The purple-red smoke was more than just a trick. It held two vital clues. The color? It matched the killer's eyes. The smoke? That was a sign of the killer's ability. Oddly enough, it was Su Bei's seemingly useless skill that had made this discovery possible. His gear ability let him craft gears from metals, but the rarer the metal, the fewer gears he could make. Cesium, a volatile metal, was the key. When exposed to air, it turned into purple smoke, and Su Bei had carefully chosen it to execute his plan. His growing paleness was the result of constantly crafting gears, secretly making a golden one for himself every time a drain on his energy. But the task was done. Su Bei tried to suppress his laughter, keeping up his cool facade, but couldn't resist. Who knows, he shrugged. Fate rarely offers clear clues. Wu Mingbai suddenly raised his hand, his eyes gleaming with curiosity. I have a question, he said, his voice full of energy. On the surface, he looked innocent, but anyone familiar with the story would know better. What were you doing above us just now? His head tilted slightly, his expression almost too cute to be suspicious. Su Bei, with a sly smile, held up a finger, signaling silence as he replied, That doesn't concern the ticket. If you want an answer, you'll have to pay the price. Wu Mingbai's eyes flickered with a hint of caution. He had realized that Su Bei wasn't as innocent as he seemed. Still, he feigned excitement, asking, What price? Without a word, Su Bei turned his gaze to Jiang Tianming, the atmosphere thick with unspoken tension. I want to be in your team for the next group activity at school. Huh? The three of them blinked, their faces all the same level of confused. Jiang Tianming, pointing at himself, asked, You want to join my team for the group activity? No, Su Bei corrected, voice steady. To be more precise, I want to be on your team. If it's a two-person team, it's just you and me. If it's a bigger one, you can pick whoever else. Just make sure I'm in. Su Bei knew as long as he could team up with the protagonist, he'd be able to avoid the spotlight. But why would you want that? Jiang Tianming paused, his eyes widening as the realization hit. Is it because I'm the unluckiest one? Su Bei smiled, offering a teachable look, then turned to comfort the other two. Don't be sad, guys. It's not about that. If either of you becomes unluckier than him someday, I'll join your team as well. The words hung in the air, but Lan Subing, despite her social anxiety, couldn't help but mutter in response. Who needs that? She usually kept her thoughts locked inside, but somehow, Su Bei had managed to make her break that habit. Wu Mingbai, ever the cautious one, shook his head, clearly uninterested in putting anyone at risk for the answer. But before he could finish, Jiang Tianming, always quick to speak, cut in with, I agree. With a reassuring glance at the orange-haired boy, he continued, It's fine. I'm curious too. He wants to watch the show, so he won't trick me. Otherwise, he won't have such a good show to watch, right? He looked directly at Su Bei, making his intentions clear without needing another word. Su Bei smiled with that classic, mysterious glint, nodding like he'd just touched the heavens. Relax. I simply nudged the fate compass hovering above your heads. Everyone has one. Gears and all radiating destiny. Total nonsense, of course. No one could see anything like that. but it added flair, giving his prophecies an aura of cost and mystery, like pulling cosmic strings wasn't free. If they believed it, even better, he could milk this trick later. With no time to waste, and bodies that shouldn't be discovered too soon, he bowed theatrically toward the cafeteria like a magician setting the stage. Your move. As the protagonist squad marched in, Su Bi lagged 10 meters behind, perfectly casual, perfectly invisible. Get too close to the hero, and the plot might bite back. Wu Mingbai, keeping a safe distance, whispered to Jiang Tianming, "Why did you agree so quickly? What if the next task involves pairing up? We could be stuck." Lan Subing nodded, adding, "That was a rushed decision." Jiang Tianming, however, was calm. He looked at Su Bi in the distance and said, "Quite the opposite. This was a well-thought-out move. If he really wanted us on his side, he'd have picked a better time to ask." He continued, "He doesn't care about the request for one of two reasons. Either he doesn't actually want to team up with me, or he's already figured out a way to team up with me regardless of my answer." Both Lan Subing and Wu Mingbai understood what he meant. If Su Bi wasn't fixated on them, they didn't have to worry. But if it was the latter, their refusal wouldn't change anything, so they might as well use the chance to gather more intel. All right then, we should agree. They agreed, moving forward. Lan Subing then shifted the topic. "Did you notice anything odd about what he said about the fate compass?" The cafeteria was the setting for the big show, or so they thought. Wu Mingbai eyed the distance, wary of what might be unfolding. Jiang Tianming shared the same concern, but reassured his companions with a confident grin. "Don't sweat it. We've handled worse, right?" Their previous battles had been brutal, but this was just another day in school. Lan Subing muttered about being duped by Subei's calm demeanor. Laughing off their tension, the three entered the cafeteria, but the usual hum of chatter and clinking trays didn't quite settle their nerves. They scanned the room, alert but relaxed enough to grab their meals. Finding a quiet corner, they sat, each trying to shake off the lingering sense that something wasn't quite right. Whatever this big show is, it should happen in the cafeteria, right? Wu Mingbai's gaze flickered towards the distant cafeteria, his expression cautious. Jiang Tianming agreed, but noticing the tension in his companion's eyes, he reassured them. "Don't worry, we've handled worse. What's there to fear now?" It made sense after all. They'd just taken down a powerful ability user and crushed an underground syndicate. What could possibly shake them in their own school? As they continued their walk, Lan Subing muttered, "We were totally duped by Subei's act." Despite the easing of their nerves, as they stepped into the cafeteria, their alertness returned. Students bustled around, chatting and grabbing meals. Everything seemed normal. They exchanged a glance, got their food, and chose a quiet corner to sit. Still on edge, but not showing it. The cafeteria buzzed with chatter, yet one corner was strangely quiet. Only one other student was there, dozing off, making it seem like the safest spot to hide. But Su Bei, observing from his secluded corner, couldn't help but chuckle at the trio that had carefully chosen their prime location. Their luck, however, was short-lived. They ended up sitting right next to a body, a grim reminder of the eerie twist of fate in this world. As he glanced around, Su Bei couldn't help but spot a darkening bloodstain on the floor. Most students, unaware of the death, sat obliviously next to the scene, and the chaos around them only seemed to blur the gravity of the situation. It was as if some invisible force was protecting the story's plot, keeping the truth hidden, even from those right next to it. Amidst this strange blend of normalcy and horror, Su Bei found himself questioning reality itself. Were these people just puppets in some twisted play? He rubbed his temples, shaking off the thought. His life was still hanging by a thread, with a trial of death looming on the horizon. Now wasn't the time to ponder the meaning of it all. The moment was interrupted by a girl's scream that shattered the stillness, breaking Subei's dark reverie. Without hesitation, Subei's eyes locked onto the preordained spot, witnessing the collapse of a body. The protagonist trio stood frozen while a girl gasped in horror. Jiang Tianming, his gaze trailing the trail of blood and the fatal wound, slowly pieced the gruesome puzzle together. Realization dawned. His eyes flickered to Su Bei, clearly searching for something, or perhaps someone. It didn't take much to connect the dots, especially after Subei's earlier offhand comment about watching the show. But with no trace of him in sight, Jiang Tianming dropped to the deceased's side, his fingers pressing lightly under the nose. His solemn tone broke the silence. "No breath. This person is dead." A chilling statement in a place where death was never supposed to visit. The chaos spiraled as the news spread, but when a skeptic questioned his certainty, Jiang Tianming, unfazed and unwavering, turned to the teacher. "Should we close the cafeteria for now?" His calm authority contrasted sharply with the terror in the air, leaving the teacher no choice but to comply, ordering everyone to stay put. As he scanned the scene, a grim expression settled over his face. The person was dead. A quick snap of his fingers sealed the cafeteria door. With a stern focus, he grabbed his walkie-talkie and relayed the situation to his superior. The atmosphere in the cafeteria was electric. With tension, people were still reeling from the shock. Some were visibly anxious, others tried to make sense of it. Wu Mingbai leaned in, tugging at Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing, nodding toward a figure sitting calmly at a table. Look at him. The two glanced over, catching sight of Su Bei completely unfazed, enjoying his meal as if nothing had happened. They couldn't help but remember his cryptic words earlier. I'm just here to watch a show. It was as if they were in a performance, with Su Bei content in the audience while they played their parts. Wu Mingbai smirked. Should we bring him in? He's got to know something. Jiang Tianming rolled his eyes. No way. Calling him over now would be a disaster. Su Bei sat across from Teacher Zhou, the air thick with tension. Teacher Zhou's voice was ice cold as he asked, Answer a few questions. If your answers check out, you're free to go. Did you kill Sunday Ming? Su Bei's heart raced. No, he replied, shaking his head. The words hung in the air. Though his actions had altered Sunday Ming's fate, he hadn't caused the death. Su Bei glanced at Teacher Zhou, sensing his suspicion he must have some lie detection ability. Do you have any special relationship with Sunday Ming? Family? Friends? Enemies? Teacher Zhou pressed further. We aren't related, not friends, and definitely not enemies. Su Bei replied, his voice steady, though the weight of the situation pressed on him. He paused before adding, If we share anything, it's a common Enemyth world itself. The words spilled out before he could stop them, and once spoken, there was no taking them back. A new teacher arrived silent, efficient, and strikingly beautiful. She set up a tent, entered it, and soon enough, the remaining teacher instructed everyone to form a line and step inside one by one. The air was filled with tension as worried glances were exchanged, but the teacher reassured them, Don't worry, Teacher Zhou's ability will clear up any doubts. If there's nothing wrong, you'll be free to leave. With more than 50 students in the cafeteria, there was no way to keep them all there indefinitely. The promise of leaving soon eased their minds, and everyone stood in line, comforted by the thought that they hadn't done anything wrong. The first student entered the tent, came out 5 minutes later, and said nothing. His silence unnerved the others. What could have happened in there? As Su Bei neared the front of the line, he wasn't worried. After all, he knew tomorrow's manga update would fill in the blanks for him. When his turn arrived, he strode into the tent with confidence, ready for whatever came next. Teacher Zhou sat with a cold gaze, her words sharp. Answer a few questions. If everything checks out, you can leave. Did you kill Sunday Ming? She asked, her tone unwavering. No, Su Bei responded quickly, shaking his head. He knew his actions had altered the course of Sunday Ming's fate, but he had never taken the man's life. It was clear now Teacher Zhou possessed the power of lie detection. Do you have any connection with Sunday Ming? Family? Friends? Enemies? She pressed. We're not related, not friends, and certainly not enemies. We hadn't even met before. Su Bei's voice remained calm, but then his words slipped out before he could stop them. If anything, we share a common enemy, this world. His mouth snapped shut, surprised by his own honesty. It was clear that Teacher Zhou's ability was at play here as she hadn't directly answered the question, do you have any special relationship with Sunday Ming? But with this power, not only could she detect lies, she could also force someone to answer, no matter how much they tried to dodge the truth. Su Bei couldn't deny his connection with Sunday Ming because, deep down, he knew they were both doomed to meet their tragic ends early in the story. Though he had initially planned to dodge the question with some clever deflection, this ability thwarted his attempt, and he had to navigate his way out of the situation carefully. Teacher Zhou frowned. Surprised by the sunny boy's response, her ability was designed to compel truth. Yet this boy truly believed that he and the deceased shared a common enemy in their world. Was he really that cynical? But now wasn't the time for her to dig deeper into his psyche. With a sigh, she continued asking, do you know if anyone had a bad relationship with Sunday Ming? Number. After a few more questions, she finally nodded, signaling the end of the session. That's all. You may leave now. Keep this conversation to yourself and don't mention what happened in the cafeteria to anyone. Teacher Zhou's unique ability had already made its mark, forcing Su Bei to confront a question he couldn't dodge. Do you have any special relationship with Sunday Ming? Su Bei knew all too well that denying any connection would be a lie, especially when both he and Sunday Ming shared the same fate as mere cannon fodder in the manga. Though he had planned to sidestep the question subtly, the ability left no room for evasion. Fortunately, he was prepared, and with a quick response, he managed to avert disaster. Teacher Zhou's gaze sharpened as she pressed for clarity, sensing something was off. Her power didn't just reveal Lies, it made sure answers came straight from the heart, forcing genuine thoughts to surface. But what did that mean for Su Bei? Did he truly view the world as something to be lost in? The moment passed, and Joe continued with more questions, pushing him further into the corner. As the questioning wrapped up, her instructions were clear. Keep quiet about this meeting, especially the events in the cafeteria. This definitely won't end the way we expect. If it were that simple, they wouldn't even need to be tangled up in all this drama, right? Sue BEI wasn't just trying to show them a dead body. It's not like that's some sort of entertainment. Wu Mingbai feels the same unease, but can't quite put his finger on what's wrong. He's forced to let it go for now. Suddenly, he looks over at Lan Subing, noticing her lost in thought, a faint blush on her face, staring at the door. Not saying anything? What's on your mind? He asks, only to hear her quietly mumble, he's quite handsome. The air gets heavy with the awkward silence. Meanwhile, Sue BEI steps into the dormitory. The buzz of gossip fills the hallway. Everyone wants to know what went down at the cafeteria. As he walks in, a red-haired guy, clearly fishing for info, slides up to him. Hey, buddy. You just came from the cafeteria, right? I heard someone died there? A few nearby guys stop eavesdropping. Sue BEI can't help but think this guy's being way too paranoid. Sue BEI looked the red-haired boy up and down, still not answering his question, instead asking, where did you hear that from? The boy hesitated for a moment, blinking, before giving a somewhat awkward response. I saw the cafeteria was sealed off and asked around at the door. But before I could get anything solid, the teacher sent me away. It was clear he wasn't skilled at lying. While it was normal to suspect something major had happened with the cafeteria's closure, knowing someone had died was unusual. Sue BEI, though suspicious, didn't show it and smiled, zipping his lips as if to say, the teachers told us not to talk about it. I see, I understand, the boy muttered, disappointment in his voice, but he didn't push further and left. As the boy turned away, Sue Bei's eyes widened. Being taller, he could clearly see a black lightning bolt symbol on the side of the boy's neck, partially hidden by his collar. Lightning bolts were a symbol he had linked to the 4 gears. Could this student be connected to the murderer? Before Sue BEI could compose himself, the red-haired boy suddenly turned back. He eyed the red-haired boy carefully before asking, where did you hear that from? The boy froze for a moment, blinking in confusion, then stammered, I saw the cafeteria was sealed off and asked around at the door. But before I could get anything concrete, the teacher sent me back. It was obvious the boy wasn't great at lying. Sure, the cafeteria being sealed off could imply something big had happened, but knowing that someone had died was a bit too much. Though Sue BEI had his doubts, he didn't show them, playing along with the story. He simply smiled and mimed, zipping his lips. The teachers told us not to talk about it. The red-haired boy seemed disappointed but didn't press the issue and turned to leave. As he walked away, Sue Bei's eyes widened. Being taller than the boy, he caught a glimpse of a strange black lightning bolt mark on his neck, barely covered by his collar. That symbol was something Sue BEI had connected to the 4 gears. Could this student be tied to the murderer? Before Sue BEI could mask his surprise, the red-haired boy suddenly turned back. He had never seen this redhead before, didn't know what class he was in, but as an undercover agent planted by a mysterious organization within the academy, the guy's abilities had to be top-notch. The higher he rose, the more intel he'd gather. So, it was safe to bet this redhead was in Class A. And bingo! Not only did he clear himself of suspicion, but he might have also caught the guy's interest. Now, with the crisis behind him, Sue Bei's mind was racing. 2 paths lay before him. Take the easy route. Brush off the redhead and head back to his room for some well-deserved rest. Or go for the long play and befriend him. The first option was tempting, but what could come from befriending an undercover agent from a dangerous organization? On the downside, the organization could start targeting him, the suspicion would grow, and if the redhead's cover blew, readers might start resenting him for getting too close to the antagonist. On the upside, he'd gain access to vital intelligence, possibly a hidden identity he could use, and if things went south, the readers would definitely be intrigued, wanting to know more about his connection with the redhead. A tough choice, right? But when Sue BEI really thought about it, his true goal became clear. He wasn't after affection, he wanted attention. That's what would give him the freedom to change his abilities and identity, not just some fleeting popularity. So, it was simple. If he could balance both his black and white identities in the eyes of the readers, he'd be unstoppable. Sue BEI, a master of manipulating the hidden narrative, couldn't help but test the waters. He casually introduced himself, expecting a cold shoulder or evasiveness. Instead, the red-haired boy, brimming with enthusiasm, surprised him. I'm Mo Xiaoqin. Nice to meet you. Are we friends now? His cheerful response caught Sue B off guard. Unlike the distant Wu Mingbai, who maintained a carefully guarded persona, Mo Xiaoqian was openly warm, genuinely eager to connect. This simple interaction revealed the sharp contrast between them. While one kept the world at arm's length, the other reached out with genuine intent. It was an unexpected twist in the ever-evolving game of manipulation and alliances. He seemed completely unaware of any boundaries. Apart from that brief moment of doubt when he suspected Subi-ei, he came off as entirely innocent. Subi-ei couldn't help but be taken aback by how different he was from the typical side character. The contrast was, jarring on one hand, you had a protagonist who looked pure but hid a heart of stone, and on the other, an antagonist who seemed to genuinely lack any malice. Was the author okay? If the other was truly as innocent as he seemed, Subi-ei realized his approach had to change. What had started as a plan to play it cool shifted, and Subi-ei decisively nodded. Of course, we're definitely friends now. He kept an eye on the other's reaction, wary that his eagerness might seem suspicious. Would he get a sarcastic remark in return, something to hint that Mo Xiaoxian was more than just a sweet face? But there was nothing. Mo Xiaoxian's eyes lit up with excitement. That's great, you're my first friend here. Subi-ei, ever the tactician, simply led him to his dorm without missing a beat. Feel free to drop by anytime. Subi-ei had a private dorm room, a space where he could let his guard down, and that's exactly what he did when he invited Mo Xiaotian in. With the door closed behind them, Subi-ei hesitated before sharing a secret from the cafeteria, only to be met with an unexpected reaction. Mo Xiaotian, in all his innocence, quickly rejected the offer, shaking his head in disbelief. Don't say anything, he warned. What if someone finds out? Subi-ei was taken aback. He realized then that Mo Xiaotian wasn't playing coy. He genuinely didn't want to know, at least not from him. This made it clear that Mo Xiaotian was a sweet and oblivious person when it came to anything outside of his immediate world, and that suited Subi-ei just fine. No suspicion would fall on him, no tests to pass. But there was still something sharp about Mo Xiaotian's awareness. The way he instinctively turned away when Subi-ei glanced at the mark on his neck revealed that despite his naivety, he could still notice the slightest oddities. That was a subtle reminder. Even the smallest slip-up could get him caught. Better to show some goodwill first. Subi-ei smiled. Don't worry, I won't tell you directly, but you should already know the answer, right? If what you said earlier was wrong, I would have denied it immediately. With that, he fell silent, leaving Mo Xiaotian to ponder the meaning. Mo Xiaotian quickly caught on, his eyes lighting up with surprise and admiration. You're right, you can distinguish things like that. Subi-ei, you're really smart. Having obtained the answer he was looking for, Mo Xiaoxian hesitated. He wanted to rush back and report, but also yearned to chat more with his new friend. Guessing the reason behind his hesitation, Subi-ei decisively sent him off. There was no rush. He had gathered enough information for today and needed time to think it over. First, the Black Lightning tattoo. If nothing else, the killer should also have such a tattoo. After all, the 4 points forming the pattern left little room for doubt. Subi-ei had initially thought the killer was after espers, hunting them down with a task at the school. That would explain his ruthless killings, even when his identity was on the line. But after watching Mo Xiaotian's actions, Subi-ei began to rethink. It seemed this mysterious group might not actually harbor ill will towards the Spurs after all. They wouldn't train a child like Mo Xiaotian if they did. If the school was their enemy, that didn't quite add up either. The undercover agent sent on a sabotage mission wouldn't be someone as innocent as Mo Xiaotian. The truth was, Subi-ei didn't have enough information to connect the dots. But then, a thought struck him. He quickly checked his phone, revisiting an old trailer. There, among the trio of main characters, was a red-haired boy wearing the same goofy grin as Mo Xiaotian. Could this be the same person? The more Subi-ei thought about it, the more it made sense. A character with such a distinct personality and unique identity wouldn't be a background figure in a manga. Befriending him seemed like the right choice, even if Mo Xiaotian was part of a villainous organization. Subi-ei, with his usual directness, asked, "Are those with black lightning marks part of some group?" Instantly, manga awareness appeared, as expected, responding with a simple, "What's up?" After confirming Subei's suspicions, it added, "Yes." But Subei's thirst for information didn't stop there. "What's their goal?" he pressed, hoping for a straightforward answer. Unfortunately, manga awareness played it coy. "Can't tell." "You'll have to figure it out yourself." Frustrated but undeterred, Subi-ei smoothly shifted the topic. "The manga updates at 8 a.m. tomorrow, right?" With an affirmative nod, the system promised, "I'll sync the manga and the real world." And just like that, Subi-ei was back to playing his complex game, always one step ahead of the rest. Subei's forum account is finally activated, and it sparks a surge of excitement within him. It's been a while since he even remembered the account existed, but now it's an opportunity for him to shape conversations and stir things up behind the scenes. With a new username to choose, Subi-ei settles on Prophet, a fitting name for his growing mysterious aura. The next day, his class is filled with chatter as the students eagerly await the new semester's first lesson. Despite the temptation to check his phone, Subi-ei stays focused, determined to appear as just another attentive student. The subtle tension between the mundane classroom and the cryptic world he's carefully navigating builds with each passing moment, as his influence grows both in and outside the forum. The bell rang, and in walked a poised teacher with glasses, ready to kick off the new semester. Welcome, everyone. I'm your teacher for Theoretical Abilities, Joe Minwin. Let's get straight to it. We have a quiz at the end of the month, she said as she wrote on the board. What exactly are abilities? Subi knew this was no ordinary class abilities, were serious business. This was the kind of topic you usually only got at special academies, so not paying attention was a disaster waiting to happen. As the lesson began, the teacher announced she'd call on a few students to share their thoughts. And suddenly, the dread of being put on the spot hit. Those who knew the answer were fine, but for others, it was a nerve-wracking moment, especially when Subi knew he'd be in the spotlight soon. Sure enough, the first name she called out was Jiang Tianming, and the tension was about to rise. After diving into the adventure before school even began, he quickly grasped the power of abilities. With the help of the Lan family's guidance, he nailed the teacher's question. It's an energy within the human body. The first student to answer saved time, and Teacher Zhou smiled, asking, "Is your name Jiang Tianming? Have you studied this before?" He nodded, and the teacher, aware that many had learned about abilities early on, let him sit back down. Abilities are indeed an energy inside us all, she continued. Everyone has it, but why do only some of us awaken it? Her pause caught the class off guard. Many thought only the awakened had this energy. The real question was, why were they the chosen ones? A more impatient student raised his hand and asked, why do we awaken our abilities around 15? The teacher answered, explaining that it's due to our bodies being at their peak energy, making us more likely to awaken. While most ability users unlock their powers at 15, experiments show that extreme stimuli can awaken abilities in people younger or older. The teacher then explained that ability types are innate. The more active the energy, the easier it is to awaken, and strength depends on development and comprehension. To motivate the class, he pointed out that even those with seemingly useless abilities could become strong with the right development. He gave the example of a famous star who once had a useless ability making people smell gardenia when she smiled. But after honing it, her power could infiltrate the soul, allowing her to track or attack people and even charm those with weak willpower. A great reminder that hidden potential lies within everyone, even if it seems trivial at first. She broke free from Class F's chains and rose to fame with an ability so useless it became legendary, turning her into a symbol of defiant hope. But let's not kid ourselves. Someone like her is one in a million. For the rest, mediocrity is the norm, and reality bites hard. That's why Sue Beaver, the schemer, chose the smarter route, exploiting whatever edge his so-called ability offered, no matter how unimpressive. Then came the teacher's chilling reminder, you can't swap abilities like Facesno plastic surgery for powers. People who tried, dead, crippled, erased. The message landed like a punch. Know your limits or lose everything. As the bell rang, students scattered, the air thick with noise and dreams deferred. But Sue Bei wasn't reaching for his usual Manga locked eyes with Fang Lan. So, the first day disaster you warned about, it's already happened. And judging by her silence, she'd known all along. He paused for a moment and cautioned, the school's not exactly safe these days. Be careful. Of course, Subi replied with a nonchalant shrug, feigning ignorance. After what happened yesterday, it's clear it's not safe. Who knows who's behind it? With a mock inquisitive look, he asked, can you use your prophecy to track down the culprit? If that worked, then the so-called first incident in the manga was just a trick by the author to throw the main characters and Feng Lan together. That would be pretty ironic. Luckily, Feng Lan shook his head. I've already used my monthly prediction. I won't be able to use it again until next month. By then, if the culprit hasn't been caught, they'll probably cover their tracks well. Sue Bei felt a sense of relief. I'm sure someone will come to you for help. If you don't want the hassle, just turn them down flat. I'm heading to the bathroom. With only 10 minutes left in the break, he had to rush to the bathroom. His manga was waiting. Behind him, Feng Lan's gaze flickered with rare complexity. Was it really him? In the bathroom stall, Sue Bei unlocked his phone, heart already racing. The manga had updated. He tapped it open without pause. It began at the school gate beneath a vibrant red banner. Happy start of school to first-year students. A deceptively cheerful setting for what lay ahead. Students filed in, eyes glittering with anticipation, unaware that their awakening abilities were just the beginning. Even with only a few panels, the artist captured the electric thrill of a new term and the mystery lurking beneath it. Sue Bei, reading, instantly knew this wasn't amateur work. The characters breathed, the panels pulsed, and the story was alive. Real-time comments streamed in, a flood of excitement threatening to drown the screen. Then came the main trio, drawn so sharply they mirrored their real selves too closely. That uncanny resemblance twisted Subei's stomach hit wasn't just art anymore. As they recap their summer's end in fleeting flashes, the school's doors opened, pulling them into something far bigger. Something written in inkhand, maybe blood. The trio reluctantly splits up, with Wu Mingbai's exaggerated drama the only thing that seems to leave a mark, while Jiang Tianming and Lan Subing are unfazed. Lan Subing's internal monologue is on full display, picking apart everything from the boys' fashion to the chaotic summer antics, all while silently criticizing Wu Mingbai's over-the-top theatrics. Despite her serene outward appearance, no one would guess the storm of thought she harbors inside. As classmates start to trickle in, Su Bei keeps a sharp eye out, focusing on those who catch the manga spotlight. Sure enough, Feng Lanblon, white-haired, and with eyes that gleam like gold, gets his moment in the manga. His appearance dominates the panel, looking every bit the heartthrob fans would swoon over. Lan Subing's inner voice chimes in, "What a handsome guy!" Just as the manga pans to the next scene, Feng Lan curls up in the last seat, choosing sleep over attention. Meanwhile, the students each introduce themselves, from Zhao Xiaoyuthe eager first to speak Mu Tiren, who takes the lead in the laps, and Wu Jin bringing up the rear. They each get a minor moment in the manga, but it's clear, it's all about the characters who make it to the close-ups. Those meticulously drawn characters were no accident. Su Bei could tell they were special just by the subtle detail. He sensed they were important to the story, and his hunch proved right. When Zhao Xiaoyu spoke first, her vague explanation of her ability hinted at secrets and set the tone for everyone else. Mu Tiren gave off Big Brother vibes, kind and just, a perfect fit for the main cast. Wu Jin seemed ordinary until his gloomy aura made him stand out. As Su Bei waited for his moment, he stayed calm on the outside, but inside he was nervous if the author skipped his introduction. Everything he'd built could crumble. No new panel meant no disguise, no momentum. But just when tension peaked, the scene appeared. His carefully designed entrance was in. From Jiang Tianming's eyes, the world paused as he caught sight of a striking figure at the door, blonde hair, veiled in shadow, violet eyes gleaming with a faint menace, like a phantom stepping out of myth. The gloom didn't hide his beauty, it magnified it, draped in enigma. Then, as he stepped into the light, the spell snapped. The darkness peeled away, revealing a brilliance that made the whole classroom feel like it had turned into a divine stage. From above, the scene panned as the boy strode straight toward Jiang Tianming, stopping only inches away, sunlight igniting every strand of golden hair, his eyes glimmering with cosmic mischief. His smile curved with defiance, and in a voice like fate itself playing dice, he declared, "Saluting you on behalf of destiny, the unluckiest soul of this era." Instantly, the live comments burst into chaos confessions, awe, obsessionate. As the curtain fell on that cinematic entrance, Su Bei exhaled with a grin, savoring the applause only he could orchestrate. He knew he had it made. Just from his appearance in the manga alone, the buzz around this scene would be huge. The manga artist's skill was undeniable, though it was only 2D. It felt more alive than reality. His performance might have been a bit off, but the manga captured it perfectly, conveying every nuance he wanted. Anyone reading it would see him as that mysterious, playful type. As he flipped through, the next part delved into Jiang Tianming's thoughts, where he started questioning Su Bei's true intentions and identity. When Jiang Tianming speculated that Su Bei might know his parents, Su Bei almost spat out his drink. Seriously, how did he come to that conclusion? Then, Meng Huai made his dramatic entrance. His muscular frame was sketched in a few strokes broad shoulders, narrow waist exuding the raw power of a tiger on the prowl. The manga moved fast, covering self-introductions in a quick 6-panel grid before jumping to Meng Huai scolding everyone for being useless and making them run 10 laps. As the students began to leave, the manga zoomed in on the teaching building and playground. The Ability Academy's building looked like a grand European castle, mysterious, imposing. First years weren't allowed upstairs, so everything above the first floor was a mystery, just boring halls below and an absurdly massive playground outside. One lap was 1,600 meters. From the sky, people looked like ants crawling across it. Su Bei didn't expect the run to expose a secret. Jiang Tianming's ability was flawed. Lan Subing, socially anxious and barely able to use her word spirit, whispered to herself before they began, "Tianming and I will easily finish 10 laps." But her weak skill couldn't handle boosting them both. At Tianming's urging, she only powered herself up, leaving him to run on pure grit. He barely made it 4 laps before collapsing inside. Then it happened. A phantom figure, his legendary ally from the first manga, appeared behind him. Fueled by that hallucination, Tianming pushed on for 2 more laps. Exhausted, he stumbled, dragging his feet, but wouldn't quit. The phantom started half carrying him its edges, flickering like static. After 2 more laps, the illusion vanished. Just like that. Gone. Just as Subi Ei was trying to figure out how Jiang Tianming pulled off the final 2 laps, he suddenly caught sight of a shadowy figure forming behind him, a ghost from the very first manga, the final boss himself. Subei's mind spun with realization. Death summoning, that's what it means. It wasn't just some edgy skill name. Jiang could summon the souls of his defeated foes to fight for him. No wonder this guy was the main character. If these summoned spirits retained their powers, then Jiang wasn't just strong, he was terrifying. Subi Ei, stunned, exited the current manga and flipped back to the last page of the original. There he was, the old protagonist, staring at his palm and murmuring, "The third one." Back then, Subi Ei had no idea what that meant. But now everything was changing. The plot is heating up as Subi Ei continues to play his dangerous game with destiny. His ability to manipulate the story's direction is growing stronger, and now it seems like he's getting closer to mastering death summoning. But who exactly is behind the scenes with him? As he dives deeper into the manga, Subi Ei finds himself tangled in a web of mysteries. There's a strange killer lurking in the shadows, an assassin cloaked in smoke, and an unsettling symbol that seems to mark his fate. Meanwhile, his classmates, especially the prophetic Feng Lin, are starting to sense that there's more to Subi Ei than meets the eye. Everyone's eyes are on him, and the feedback is rolling in. They're starting to see the genius behind the scenes. But can he keep the illusion going before the pages of his destiny shift once again? The game is far from over, and the stakes are higher than ever. Chapter 16 of King of Abilities, Gears of Destiny throws us into a back alley clash where Class F's rising weirdos face off against an upperclassman with a serious ego problem, but guess who's not throwing punches? That's right, Subi Ei. While the crowd watches for a showdown, our so-called gear guy pulls strings from the shadows like a smirking puppet master. Whispers swirl that he's more prophet than tinkerer in the eerie part, his predictions masked as mechanical mumbo-jumbo-ware getting scarily accurate. Feng Lan, torn between visions and vibes, starts seeing Subi Ei as more than just trouble. As tensions crackle and motives blur, readers start to wonder, is this slacker writing the story? Or escaping one written about him? It's puzzling. If they were twins or related by blood, it would make sense, but judging by their appearances, they probably aren't. So why would the author give 2 characters such similar abilities? I'm not trying to stir up trouble, but I'm hoping the forum can shed some light on this. Firefly fly number 1. It's clear that Subei's ability is gears. You're all overthinking it. Number 2 replies to number 1. Got it. Go somewhere else. Number 3 replies to number 1. All right, you're spot on. Someone, please invite this genius to the genius group. Number 7. I think there must be a significant difference in their abilities, but we don't have enough info yet. Still, from what we've seen, Subi Ei is much more active than Feng Lan.